Awesome. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. And today, let's make sure we've got 2 blocks and a blanket. And you can choose to do this first part with the blanket or not. I just appreciate it because it does help open up the low back a little bit, but it does create some compression on the abdomen. So we're going to start in child's pose. And unless you're expecting, you might want to have your knees together. And then you'll just take your blanket folded, just normal, and put it on top of your lap. And then once you've got your blanket there, I want you to pull the blanket tight against the top of your hip flexors, and you're going to pull it back as you lean forward. And so as you pull it tight against your hip flexors and you come forward, it just creates a little bit of space in the front of the hip flexors, and then you can start to walk both hands forward. And we'll start by just walking both hands forward and letting the arms be as long as they can be and as lazy as they can be. And we're going to take the first few breath cycles here to just feel what it feels like to breathe into this shape, to breathe into this pose. So as I started to allude to a little earlier, I found that this past week has been one in which I felt very tired. And so I've tried to allow myself to remember that I function best when I allow myself to just do one thing at a time. And so in our practice today, we're going to work on doing one thing at a time. And in this shape, the only thing you need to do is breathe. And so since we've been breathing for a little bit, let's start to add on one other thing. So I want you to start to constrict the back of your throat so you can hear the sound of your breath entering and exiting through the glottis of the throat. And once you feel pretty established with that sound of the breath, let's start to smooth it out. So now the inhalation and the exhalation start to become this seamless wave. And then we'll start to add just one more thing. So let's start to add some energy into your arms if they're forward. Press into the palms, wrap the shoulder blades onto your back, and then let's lift our heads 1 inch away from the floor. Start to walk your hands over towards your right. Put your head back down and just take a moment to pause and breathe here. You might press down and forward more with that left hand. You might draw the left outer hip down and back. And I want you to just breathe onto that left side body as though you were pressing your ribs into your chest, or into your lap. And then you're pressing your left ribs out to the left and maybe the back left ribs up towards the sky. You're just inflating that side of the body. And then on your next in-breath, lift the head about 1 inch away from the floor. Crawl back through center and just take a breath cycle here to notice if you notice anything different between the right side and notice anything between the left side. Awesome. Lift the head about 1 inch away from the floor. Start to crawl your hands over towards your left. And then again, just as we did before. So you'll press down and forward with that right hand. Draw down and back with your outer left hip. And then just take a few breath cycles into that right side body. Breathing the right ribs down towards your thighs. Bringing the right ribs out towards the right. Breathing the right ribs in the back up towards the sky. And you're just noticing what it feels like to do that. On your next inhalation, lift the head about 1 inch away from the floor, crawl back through center and take one complete breath cycle here. Again, just noticing what you notice in the body. Awesome. Slide your hands back 1 hand print. And let's go ahead and come up to hands and knees. Now, once you get to hands and knees, you might want to move that blanket if you had it. You might want to use it underneath your knees. You might choose to just leave it there as it is. But we're going to take a moment to just let your heads drop like sad little cows, and let your bellies drop like sad little cows. You're not from California. And you're going to push down into your hands, and you're going to drop the belly even more, and you're going to drop the head even more. And just noticing what this feels like, especially since some of you mentioned that you might be having tight shoulders, tight neck. We're going to stay here for just a minute, and I want you to just breathe. And as you're breathing here, you're letting gravity help the belly drop more towards the floor. You're letting the heart melt between the gates of the arms while you keep the hands and the arms active, and you're just letting the head be even heavier. And we've got about 3 more breath cycles here, and you're just noticing what it feels like to be in this position that Peter Gosku calls static back. He says it helps with a lot of chronic sitting, just to help re-educate the spine into what it needs to be doing. Awesome. Let's go ahead and add on. Keep your spine exactly as it is. Inhale, just lift your head, looking up towards the sky, and suddenly we're in cow shape. And then exhale, drop your chin towards your chest and let the head come back down. And you just got 2 more like that. So keeping all of the spine as it is, you're just moving the head. And you're noticing what it feels like just to move the head. Maybe the head feels heavy. Maybe the shoulder blades feel tight. You're just noticing what you notice here. Awesome sauce. The next time your chin drops towards the chest, the head is heavy. Take a moment to pause there. Take a big breath in. As you exhale, just round your tailbone under. So keeping the belly as heavy as it can be, and then inhale, lift the tail feathers up. And you've just got 4 of those. So we're isolating how the spine is working. So you're thinking about keeping the ribs as they are, the stomach as it is, the head as it is, and you're just moving your bum up and down. Arms are still as straight as they can be. Yep, awesome sauce. The next time your tail feathers lift, go ahead and pause there. Inhale. Drop the ribs even more. As you exhale, press the floor away round just the upper back, keeping the head as it is, the tail as it is. Yep, and then inhale, melt the heart through the gates of the arms. And you've got 4 of these. And so you're trying to keep the head as it is, you're trying to keep the abdomen as it is, you're trying to keep the pelvis as it is, and you're just moving the rib cage, finding your serratus anterior, and you're just noticing what this feels like. Yep. And the next time you inhale and the ribs soften down towards the floor, just exhale and stay here. Inhale once again. This time exhale, just draw the front ribs in and back like you're trying to do a cat pose in the abdomen, but you don't want to move the tail, you don't want to move the ribs, you don't want to move the head. And this one I found was possibly the most challenging to do. So you've just got 3 of these, and you're noticing how you can find that cat articulation, the cow articulation, just in the abdomen, just around the gut. So when we allow ourselves to just do one thing at a time, when we allow ourselves to pause, we start to discover new things, not only about ourselves, but also about others and the world in which we live. Awesome. Let's go ahead and come to stillness. And now you're going to add all of them together and start to create bigger movements. So as you inhale, lift the head, drop the belly, lift the tail, lower the ribs, and then exhale, chin to chest, round through the upper back, lift the low belly, round through the tailbone. Yep. And then notice what you notice as you take 4 more of these on your own. Do you find that there's a little bit more space than you might ordinarily find? Do you find that there's more sensation than you might ordinarily find? Is there more breath? A lot of times I feel that we find ourselves trying to do so many things at once, but if we can slow them down just a little bit, we find that we're a lot more effective and expressive and capable of handling the bigger things. So after this next exhalation, by all means, take whatever movement feels good to you. So that might be some barrel rolls. You might do some twists. You might make these any organic weird shape that you would like, but you're just following your breath. You're seeing what it feels like to just do one thing at a time. And maybe that one thing at a time is listening to your inner impulses that the body's generating. Maybe it's following sensation. Maybe it's following breath or curiosity. But you've got 3 more breath cycles doing whatever the heck you happen to be doing. And then we'll just see how that's translating into the rest of the body and see how that's translating into our breath. Awesome sauce. Let's go ahead and come to a still neutral spine. Curl both sets of toes under. Turn your fingers out to the right and to the left. Then start to turn your fingers back towards your knees. And you might need to widen your hands a little bit wider than shoulder distance apart. And then inhale, you'll shift your weight slightly forward, and exhale, you'll shift your weight back. And you're just going to do 4 of these, starting to see how it feels to open up the wrists, starting to notice what it feels like in the palms of the hands, in the forearms, noticing what that does to your shoulders, your neck, and your breath. Awesome. And after you've done 4, you might come forward and just bring the back of the palm to the floor. So now your fingertips are still facing back towards your knees. And you might do one hand at a time. You might do both hands at a time. But we've got 4 breath cycles here. And I want you to just notice what you notice. Maybe you pulse forward and back. Maybe you don't, but you're breathing. You're becoming curious about what's happening here and now for you. Great. Awesome. And then when you're done with that, let's bring both hands forward as normal. Make sure your knees, ankles, and shins are together, curling both sets of toes under. Let's go ahead and inhale, lift the belly, drop the belly, lift the head, lift the tail. And as you exhale, press back to your downward facing dog. So now we've got our toes together, our knees together. And notice that this is probably a little bit more narrow of a stance. And I want you to slowly bend one knee and then the other. And you might find that as you're doing this, you would like to walk your feet so they're a little bit more hip distance apart. And if that's the case, by all means, go ahead and do that. But we're paying attention to what's happening in the breath. I was listening to this interesting podcast yesterday with Glennon Doyle, and she was talking to Brene Brown. Both of them, of course, have histories of addiction, different forms, but they have histories of addiction. And so they were talking about how often staying busy is a form of addiction, a way of, just allowing them to not have to tune in, to tap in, to really feel and experience what's going on. And so as we're in our practice today, you're just allowing yourself to tune in, to tap in, to experience what's going on for you. Awesome. And then once you're complete, let's go ahead and come to a still neutral spot. And then we'll go ahead and move on. Inhale, lift your right leg up and back. And as you exhale, quietly step your right foot between your hands. You might want to plant your hands on your blocks or keep your hands on the floor, but you'll inhale and maybe shift the weight forward just a bit. And then exhale, shift your weight back, straighten the front leg long. And you've got 4 of these. So you're just coming forward and you're going back. And you're just paying attention. Can you slow down the breath just a little bit? Can you notice what changes you need to make as you're coming in and out of this low lunge and in and out of this modified pyramid? Great. You've got one more set on your own. The next time you shift your weight back and both of your legs are straight, take a moment to pause here. If you're working with blocks, you might want to walk them in a little bit so they're underneath your shoulders. Some of you might choose to peel the sole of your right foot up and away from the floor. Some of you might choose to spin your whole right leg to the right to externally rotate that right thigh. And if you've picked up the sole of the right foot, you're curling the toes back in alignment with your right knee. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice in this moment. Yep. On your next in-breath, go ahead and come back through center, shift your weight forward, plant your palms, and exhale, step back, downward facing dog pose. Take a moment pause and notice what you notice between the sides. Can you continue to lift up through those inner armpits, lift up through the outer hips, and send your inner thighs straight back? Nice job. Inhale, let's come forward into plank pose, fallen kasana. And we're going to pause here for a bit. So just as we found the ability to press through our arms in that static back position, I want you to push through your arms. Yep. And then lift through the inner thighs and lengthen your tailbone back. On your next in-breath, you'll shift your weight forward and take the slowest lower to the floor you would like. And then you'll come to cobra or up dog, whichever one works for you. And you're entering that very slowly, very deliberately. Awesome. And then as you're ready, you'll make your way back to your downward facing dog. And you're just taking a moment to pause, and you're taking a moment to breathe, and you're noticing what you notice. Where in your life might you like to just take a little bit of time to really invest in you, to really spend time doing the things that are nurturing and healing for you? For many of us, that might include our practice. So let's go ahead and try the other side. Inhale, lift your left leg up and back. As you exhale, quietly step that foot between your hands. Again, hands might come to the blocks or they might stay on the floor, but you've got 4 sets of these. So inhale, shifting the weight forward just a little bit, and then exhaling, straighten the front leg long, shifting your pelvis back. And as you move in and out of this 4 times, can you notice what changes moment to moment, set to set? I find it very interesting that multitasking is something that, we encourage people to do, especially within places of occupation or in life. And yet it keeps us from fully connecting with ourselves. It keeps us from fully connecting with others. So as best as you can, you're just paying attention to how the body is doing, how the breath is moving. It's kind of paying attention to multiple things, but at the same time, you're just really grounding in this present moment. Great. I think we've got one more set. And then the next time you straighten your left leg long, let's go ahead and pause there. Some of you might want to walk those blocks in just a bit so they're underneath your shoulders. And then you might choose to peel the sole of your left foot up and away from the floor, pulling the toes back in alignment with your left knee. And if you choose to, you might externally rotate the whole thigh. So it's starting from the upper part of the left hip, and then the left knee and the left toes all start to point towards the left. And then you're pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what it feels like to just be in your body in this moment. Nice work, guys. As you're ready, you'll come back through center. Inhale, shift your weight forward. As you exhale, plant the palms and step back, downward facing dog. Great. Let's go ahead and inhale here, and we'll exhale here. Inhale, come forward into plank pose, fallen kasana. Again, press the floor away. Lift up through the inner armpits. On your next exhale, shift your weight forward and slowly lower down. And you'll come either through cobra or up dog. But you'll take your time getting into that back bend of your choice and see if you can take a breath there. And then you'll exhale and lower down and make your way back to downward facing dog. 3 breaths. And you'll just notice, what does the mat feel like underneath your hands, or the floor feel like underneath your hands? How do you observe the weight of your feet pressing into the floor? Is it even right to left? How are you breathing into your rib cage? All right, let's move on. Go ahead and inhale, lift your right leg up and back. As you exhale, quietly step that right foot between your hands. Great. Once you're there, step your back foot in a bit and spin it down for warrior 1. And then let's inhale and come up for warrior 1. Perfect. So once you find yourself in warrior 1, we're going to take a moment to just make sure our outer left hip is squaring to the top of our space. Yep. And then we've got 4 of these. So inhale, straighten your front leg, lower your arms alongside your hips. And then exhale, bend the front knee, open the arms up and towards the sky. And you've got 4 more of these. And as you take these 4 more times, I encourage you to play with how the arms move. Maybe they go out to the side sometimes. Maybe they come from behind and forward. Do whatever feels good to you, but you're playing in this moment. You're allowing yourself to just be present to your own body, to the sensations, to your breath. A lot of times what happens, at least for me when I'm multitasking, is I'm not present really. I'm doing multiple things based on repetition, based on previous ways of doing it. There's not the sense of curiosity. So as you're moving in and out, you're just allowing yourself to play. Yeah. All right. The next time you find yourself in Virabhadrasana 1, so front knee bent, both arms up and over your head, you'll take a moment to pause. And then you'll take a moment to breathe. And you've got 3 breath cycles here. So what small movements do you need to make to find more stability in this pose? What small movements do you need to make to find more ease in this pose? And you're just allowing yourself to make those adjustments. Yeah, great. On your next in-breath, reach up through the arms, straighten your front leg long. As you exhale, reach forward, out and down, bring fingers to floor or blocks underneath your shoulders. You might choose to walk that left block in towards the right foot just a bit. You might choose to then inhale and lift the spine parallel-ish to the floor. As you exhale, the right hand might come back to the right hip and stay there. Keep lengthening your spine parallel to the floor, and as you exhale, you might choose to rotate the spine towards the right. And if you've chosen to do that, again, we're pressing down through that left hand. We're allowing the left ear to spin towards the floor, the right shoulder to stack on top of the left, and you might open the right arm out towards the sky for revolved triangle. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice. What small movements do you need to make to find more stability here? What small movements do you need to make to find more ease? When we're fully present, we can make those adjustments because we're attuned to what's going on. When we're multitasking and trying to do too many things, it doesn't always work out so well. Awesome. On your next exhale, go ahead and lower that right hand to the floor. Inhale, shift your weight forward, bend your front knee. And as you exhale, plant the palms and step back, downward facing dog. Great. Inhale, come forward into plank. And we're going to stay here for 3 breath cycles. And you're going to notice what small adjustments you need to make in the hands, what small adjustments you need to make in the head, in the tailbone. And after you've taken 3 breath cycles here, you'll shift your weight forward with an in-breath and exhale through chaturanga into your upward dog or cobra, whatever is working best for you. And you'll take your time to make your way back to downward facing dog. And again, you're paying attention to the small little things. Yep. Nice work, guys. Nice work. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the other side. Inhale, lift your left leg up and back. And as you exhale, quietly step that foot between your hands. As you're ready, step the right foot forward a bit and out to the right. And then inhale, let's come up for Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1. And just as we did the first time, you're taking the first few beats here to really square the shoulders and the hips to the top of your space. You're noticing what small movements you might need here, and then we'll do 4 of these. So with both arms high, inhale, straighten the front leg long, lower the arms alongside your hips. And then exhale, return to Virabhadrasana 1. And as you move in and out of this 4 more times, I encourage you to play with the arms, maybe doing something different, just exploring how it feels to be in your body. It's kind of a funny thing to think that, in many instances, and spend all this time trying to get things right, um, really married to productivity and efficiency. But it seems like part of the joy of being alive is trying new things and exploring new things. So, how can we remind ourselves of that? And how can we give ourselves permission in even the most mundane of things to just remember that we're human beings, hopefully trying to play and learn and grow and experience and evolve? All right, the next time you're in Virabhadrasana 1, front knee bent, both arms high, let's take a moment to just stay there and experience. So as you're here, notice what small movements need to be made to find more stability. Yeah. And then notice what small movements need to be made to find ease. So we work for stability first because it's easier to play when we feel safe and secure. Awesome sauce. Next in breath, let's straighten that front leg long. As you exhale, reach forward, out, and down, bringing hands to floor or blocks underneath your shoulders. Now, if hands are on the blocks, you might walk that right block closer to your inner left foot. And then let's inhale and lift our spine parallel-ish to the floor. As you exhale, that left hand might come to the left hip, and you might stay here and just work on the length of the spine. Otherwise, you might inhale and find more length through the spine, and then exhale, start to rotate towards the left. And you're taking your time getting into this revolved triangle. Again, finding where you can find stability in the legs, stability in the feet, stability in the spine. And then maybe play with finding more ease in the rotation, maybe lifting the left arm up, maybe stacking that left shoulder more, maybe drawing the chin a little bit more towards your sternum so your right ear floats away from your right shoulder. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're knowing or noticing what you notice. Nice work, guys. On your next exhale, lower that left hand to the floor. Let's inhale, come to a low lunge. Exhale, plant the palms and step back, downward facing dog. Great. As you're ready, let's inhale and come forward, plank pose. As you'd like, cycle through your up dog or cobra. And again, you're just paying attention. As you have more opportunity to do something else, can you really just connect with what it feels like to be in this moment? One of the things I found most interesting about Brene Brown and Glennon Doyle's conversation was this idea that, a lot of times our addictions are a means of hiding or avoiding ourselves. And so how can we allow ourselves to come into more contact with who we are and know that no matter who we are, how we are, or where we are, that is perfectly okay. So those that are in child's pose, you stay there as long as you'd like. Those that are in down dog, we're going to start to make our way to the top of our mat. So take a big breath in. As you exhale, bend the knees, empty the belly, step or float top of space. Great. Once you find yourself there, separate your feet about hip distance apart. And we've got 4 of these here. So you'll inhale and halfway lift. And then you'll exhale and fold back in. And as you take these next 3, I encourage you to play with what it feels like to start that from your pelvis moving up through your head. And then what it feels like to start that from your pelvis and moving back to your head. Just noticing if it gives you a little bit more access, to your happy hamstrings. And you're just noticing, seeing if it allows you to get a little deeper into each subsequent forward fold. Nice work. Awesome sauce. This is our last one. And then let's go ahead and inhale, bend your knees, sit low, Utkatasana, chair pose. Cool. And for today, your arms can be however you'd like. For me, I found it interesting to interlace the fingers, send the palms away from me, and then send the arms up and overhead. But you choose to play with what works for you. Now, especially those of you with lat stuff, if you push up through the heels of your hands, this is definitely going to get more into your lat side body. And then see if you can still keep lifting your chest as you lift the arms up. And you might wiggle and move around a little bit in the arms. You might stay completely still, but you're just noticing what it feels like to be in your body as the knees bend and the butt sits low. Yep. You got 2 more breath cycles here. How do you find more stability? And how do you find more ease? On your next in-breath, let's stand up, reach up, look up. And as you exhale, just stay here for a bit, dropping the tailbone, lifting the heels of the hands or the whole arm bone up. As you exhale, or arms open out, eyes soften or close, and just take a moment to be in your body. Where is your breath now? How do you feel the weight of the feet into the floor? How do you feel the sensations moving around in the body? All right. Cool. So for this next one, I encourage you to put your hands on your hips, but you can do whatever the heck you want to with your hands. Let's shift our weight over to our left leg and float our right leg up in front of us, flexing that knee, flexing that foot. Yep. And then you're going to just step that right foot back as far as you can to a low lunge. Still keeping the spine up. Now you're going to step right back forward to the top of your space. Lower the foot down, and we're going to try that on the other side. I know I got a look from Roberta, like, really, why are we doing that? Okay, so shift the weight over to your right leg, float your left leg up. You're going to engage that core, and when you're ready, you step that left foot long and back. And then as you're ready, you're going to come forward once again, maybe floating that left leg up this time. Nice job. Awesome sauce, lower that down. You've got that 2 more times. And you're just going to play with this at your own pace. What does it take for you to step into that unknown? This is literally what we're doing, stepping into the unknown. You can't see what's back there. You're trusting that by being fully present to all the micro movement of your feet, of your core, of your arms, you're allowing yourself to adjust. And that's really all that we're doing. Nice job, guys. Wobbles are okay. Yep. Awesome. So the next time you come forward and you've done 3 on each side, we're going to pause and then we're going to add on. Great. Okay. So let's start to shift all of our weight. Oh, we got one more. There we go. Let's shift all of our weight to our left leg. Float your right leg up. Flex through that right foot. Flex through that right knee. As you exhale, step the right foot long and back. So we're going back to that lunge. Now we've got familiarity here. Spin the foot down to the floor and come to warrior 2. Now, as you come to warrior 2, take a moment to adjust. Do you need to widen your stance from front to back of your mat? Do you need to widen your stance from right to left? From here, open the arms out so they're parallel to the floor. And then as you inhale, straighten your front leg, reach both arms up and over your head. As you exhale, bend that front knee and return to warrior 2. And you've got 3 more just like this. And you're just paying attention. What does it feel like to bend that front knee? We've done this quite a few times at this point, but now one leg's an external rotation. The other leg's still pretty neutral. Yeah. Nice work. And after you've done a total of 4, you'll return back to warrior 2 and you'll take a moment to pause. Now in this shape, how do you find more stability? What small movements do you need to make so your feet, so your legs, so your pelvis, so your spine, so your shoulders, so your head, all of that feels more stable? And then what do you need to do in order to find more ease? Where do you need to soften any unnecessary tension? Maybe it's in the mouth or in the shoulders or in the ribs. Great. On your next inhalation, reach forward through that left arm, maybe lower the left forearm to the top of the left thigh rather, and swim your right arm up and over your head, palm faces down. And as you lengthen your tailbone back to that inner right thigh, see if you can press down into that left forearm, lift the left ribs away from the left thigh, and maybe wrap them forward as you stack the right knee up, right ribs on top. And you're just paying attention. What does this feel like on the left side body, especially my lat people? Great. Next inhalation, let's return to Virabhadrasana 2. As you exhale, we're going to straighten that front leg long. Reach forward, out, and down, and we now find ourselves in Utthita Trikonasana. And as you come into triangle, we've done this shape countless times. I want you to pay attention to what's different this time. How do you find stability in this moment? What small movements do you need to make? And then in this moment, how do you find more ease? Where do you soften tension around your neck, especially on the right side? Maybe it's engaging the neck on the left side. How do you find more engagement on the front of your left thigh as you press onto the outer right hip, right foot? Awesome. Next in breath, bend the front knee, return to Virabhadrasana 2. And then as you exhale, let's bring both hands onto our hips. Wiggle walk your back foot in about 2 inches, so it's coming towards your left foot. Lift your right heel up and away from the floor. Come on to the ball of your right foot, square your hips to the top of your space, and then step to the top of your mat. Yeah, look, not too bad. Great, and then we'll try all that on the other side. So maybe hands to hips, shift your weight to the right leg, float your left leg up, flexing through the foot and the heel, or knee rather, and step that left leg long and back. And once you find yourself first in that high crescent lunge, then you'll spin the foot down to the floor and then adjust the feet. Do they need to go a little wider right to left? Do they need to go a little longer front to back? Once that's established, arms can open out parallel to the floor. And then you'll inhale, straighten the front leg, reach both arms up and overhead. And exhale, return to warrior 2. And you've got a total of 4 of these. And as you move in and out of warrior 2, notice what's happening in that front knee. Is it tracking over the center of the foot? There we go. And you're just paying attention to how it feels to maybe open that inner left thigh. You might feel a sensation across the inside edge of the left groin. You might feel sensation on the outside edge of the back foot. And you're just allowing yourself to slow down, to be with you and your breath and your experience. After you've done a total of 4, you'll stay in Virabhadrasana 2 and you'll breathe for a few breaths. And again, the ask is, how do you find more stability? Sometimes finding stability means that you, ironically enough, need to let go of something. And then how do you find more ease? And again, this is an ironic one, but sometimes to find more ease, you need to engage something. Awesome. On your next in-breath, reach forward and out through that right arm. Right forearm comes to the top of the right thigh. Left arm swims over your head. Palm faces down. And then you've got about 3 to 5 breaths here. And again, you're paying attention. How do you find more stability? And again, sometimes it means you have to engage more, and sometimes it means you need to let go. You need to relinquish to find that stability. And then how do you find more ease? What small adjustments need to be made to find more ease? Great. Let's see if we can all push down onto our right forearm even more. Lift our right ribs away from our right ribs, or thigh rather, and rotate them forward. Yeah, there we go. Left ribs on top. Awesome. Next in-breath, let's come back to Virabhadrasana 2. And as you exhale, straighten that front leg long and reach forward, out, and down. Utthita Trikonasana, triangle pose. And all of you are experts at triangle at this point in time. So I want you to find how this shape is different than any other triangle you've ever done before. What small movements need to happen to let this pose be its own unique animal, its own unique experience. Maybe you need to lift that right ear away from the right shoulder. Yep, so the right neck is long. Awesome sauce. Next in breath, let's return to Virba, Hadrasana 2, Warrior 2. As you exhale, hands come back to your hips. Wiggle walk your left foot towards the top of your space. Lift your left heel, spin your hips to face the top of your mat, and then step to the top of your space. Yeah, buddy. Good job. All right. Once you get to the top of your space, you might want to wiggle and giggle it out a little bit. And then we're going to add on one more thing. Okay. So let's bring hands back to hips. You can choose whichever leg feels better to you, but you're going to lift that leg up and you're going to step back to a low lunge so that we can face the side of your mat. So whichever leg you want to work with, you do that. Great. Once you're facing the side of your mat, make sure both feet are parallel to the short edge of your mat. Hands stay on your hips. Inhale, lift the heart, lift the sternum. And as you exhale, start to hinge at the hips. Hands might slide down backs of legs and come down to ankles and fold all the way in. Hands might stay on the ankles. Hands might come underneath your shoulders. You might then walk your hands either back between your legs or forward and away from your legs. But you're taking a moment to just pause and to breathe in here to notice how the body's feeling. And then take a moment to notice how the breath is. Notice if you can drop the weight of your head, but lift the armpits up and away from the floor so that, yeah, so the shoulder blades still slide down the back. Yeah. Awesome sauce. Let's walk our hands underneath our shoulders. Lift your spine parallel to the floor. Bend your knees like you're a football player or a sumo wrestler. Bring your hands to your hips. And then bring your spine up to vertical. Awesome. Once you're vertical, go ahead and straighten your legs. Turn your heels in, your toes out. Bend your knees and pop a squat. So now we're actually in that horse goddess stance. And so for this first one, you might bring your hands to heart center and just take a moment to just notice what it feels like to squeeze your outer glutes towards each other to widen those knees. And then we're just going to notice what feels better to us. So some of you will bring your hands to your thighs and you'll lock out your arms and stretch your spine. Some of you will take a twist, maybe dipping that right shoulder into the inner left thigh or left shoulder to the inner right thigh. Some of you will move around a little bit right to left, but you're paying attention to what small adjustments need to be happening for you. And so if you're locking out the arms, you're really pushing down into your thighs so that it tractions out your spine. It's almost like that Pita Gosku thing that we started with. Your arms are super active, but your spine is kind of passive. Awesome. And then once you feel balance between the sides, we're going to come back to center. You're going to bring your hands to heart center. You're going to push down into your big toe mounds. You're going to squeeze your outer hips together. You're going to lift your sternum into your thumbs and keep those knees bent. Yep, and we're just going to pause and we're going to breathe. And we're going to notice the sensations that are happening in our legs. And we're going to see if we're breathing and we're going to see if we're clenching our face. Yep, nice job, guys. Next, in breath, stand up. And then as you exhale, let's bring our hands to our hips. You can either hop your feet together or wiggle walk them together. Right? And then let's turn to face the top of our space and step to the top of our space. Okay, last little bit. Inhale, circle sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale, hinge at your hips, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. And then exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, step or float back, Chaturanga Dandasana. You'll inhale through your up dog or cobra. And you'll exhale back to downward facing dog. And then from down dog, you can either choose to hang out there or meet in child's pose, because that's where we'll eventually go. So you're just paying attention to what feels better to you. We've got about 3 breath cycles. So you're either hanging out in down dog or you're hanging out in child's pose. And those of you that were in down dog may choose to make your way to child's pose. And then once we find ourselves back to where we started, I want you to just notice what's different in this moment. How does the breath feel in the body? How do the hips feel? How does the low back feel? When we're multitasking, when we're rushing, we're not fully connected with self. And the interesting thing is, at least what I gleaned from that conversation, was that a lot of times we fall into being disconnected from self because we don't think the self as we perceive it is good enough as it is. And so we're just we're allowing ourselves to re-educate ourselves on that thinking, to notice that that's not true, that who you are in this moment is completely wonderful, regardless of what you're doing or not. All right, let's go ahead and come forward. And we'll make our way to hands and knees. And I want you to go back to that Pete Agascu thing. So belly drops, head drops. And this time as we're doing this, I want you to pay particular attention to what's happening in your armpits. So really let the chest be droopy, like little sad droopy dog, cartoon doggy. Let your belly drop, let your head drop. And you can choose to hang out here as long as you'd like, or go back to those 4-part cats and cows that we started our practice with. So moving maybe just the head first and seeing what that feels like, to just lift the head and then drop the head, again, following with the breath and seeing if you have a little bit more movement here as you do this. And then after you've done a number of those and you feel like you've explored that with the head, you'll let the head be droopy again, and then try it just with the pelvis and see what that feels like, just to let the chest still drop, stomach still drop, but now you're just moving your tailbone up and down. And after you've done a number of those and explored that, then we'll move next to the rib cage. And again, letting the ribs sink even more through the gates of the arms, and then lifting it up and away from the floor, finding those serratus anterior muscles. And then after you've explored that a number of times, you'll try the abdomen. And the abdomen is very subtle because, you know, you want to keep the rest of the spine as it is. You're just feeling what that feels like. Yep. Not moving pelvis as much as possible. And then after you've done those, you'll take your normal cats and cows before we try to put all these things together in one shape. Great, and you're just feeling what it feels like to be in your body, to be in this moment in time. And after you've done about 3 or 4 cats and cows, if this moves into organic movement, you're free to do that as well. And then we're going to take a little breaky poo in child's pose once again before we come into dolphin. All right. Okay. Let's go ahead and from child's pose start to sit up. Bring your forearms to the mat. And again, they can be prayer pose, they can be number 11. But I want you to make sure your elbows are underneath your shoulders wherever you are. Yep. And then you're just going to round through your spine a lot, like little Halloween cats. We're going to do dolphin twice, so not to worry. And so you're going to push down, lifting up through those inner armpits. And when you're ready, you might tuck the toes under and lift the hips high. And you're just paying attention to what it feels like here in the shoulder girdle. So the inner armpits are lifting up. Oh, good job, guys. You all look very stable. And you're going to stay here for 3 or 4 breath cycles. And when you feel like you've had enough of that, you're going to come back down to the floor and you're going to rest. Nice work. Let's all come down. And you just got 3 or 4 breath cycles. The only thing you need to do right now is breathe. The only thing you need to do right now is breathe. And then gently you'll walk your hands back to your knees or pelvis and you'll sit the spine up. Now we're going to do that one more time. So if you would like to go to a wall and possibly kick up, this is the time for you to move to a wall or a door. If you feel like you just want to keep doing that, what we did before, by all means, you can do that. So we spend some time opening up our hamstrings. Some of you might choose to want to be upside down. Some of you might want to not do that. So we've got a couple minutes. So you're going to feel into what's best for you. So you might take yourself to a wall and set yourself up again. You might choose to stay in the center of your space. But your focus is just on being present. So if you do any of those things I suggested or none of those things I suggested, as long as you are connected to your breath, you are doing the right thing. That's funny, like I know what the right thing is, but yeah, you're just feeling into what feels good to you. And then after you've explored, we will meet in child's pose. So those of you that are already done exploring, you could just hang out and wait for us there and just breathe. Nice, Barbara. Nice, Robin. Nice, Steve. Yep, nice, Andy. Nice, Roberta. Nice, Jenny. Can't see you, Julie, but you're doing great. Awesome. Then we're going to slowly bring ourselves down if you're up. And my friends that are in child's pose, bring yourself up to vertical. Take a moment to sit tall through the spine and close the eyes. And as you're here, I want you to just tap in. Notice what you notice physically in the body. I was telling my therapist this week that I thought it was funny that, you know, when you take a workshop on distress, they have this model where they tell you to go from your thoughts to what emotions you're having, to how that's feeling in the body, to how you're acting in the world. And I was telling my therapist, I think that model's screwed up because I go the other way. I can tell what my behaviors are and I can tell how I feel in my body. And then that tells me what the mood I'm having is. And then that helps me determine what my thoughts are. But my thoughts move so quickly, I can't necessarily start with them to figure out why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so as you're here, I want you to just tap into the wisdom of your body. You know what best works for you, how you can operate. And so with that insight in mind, we're going to do a quad stretch. The one I would like to encourage us is dancer's quad stretch, but you can do whatever works for you. Dancer's quad stretch is, we'll start with both feet in front of us in Baddha Konasana. So you'll bring the soles of your feet together, your butt to the floor. And then from here, let's start by just bringing our right heel outside of our right hip. And then you can walk this left foot in a little bit closer to your right thigh. And we might just stay here. We might start to walk ourselves back and just lift our butt up so we can come down onto our forearms. We're paying attention to what's happening in the belly of this right thigh. You might choose to get here and be like, yep, this is where I'm staying. You might start to roll a little bit towards your left in order to bring your spine back to the floor. And you might choose to stay here, or maybe even just on your side, on your left forearm rolled towards the side, but you're paying attention to how sensation is feeling on the front of that right quad. And then you're noticing if you need to lengthen your tailbone away from your crown just a little bit more to get into the belly of that right quad. And then you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what that feels like. And you've got about 3 more breath cycles here. And variations are always welcome. You're paying attention to where you feel that sensation on your right quad. And after your next exhale, you'll take a big breath in. And then you'll slowly start to bring yourself out of this shape. So if you're on your back, you'll probably need to roll to the left in order to come up. If you're on your forearms, maybe you just push through the forearms and come up. And then you'll bring that right foot in front. Stretch your left leg long. See how it feels to have both legs straight for a moment. And then you'll switch sides as you're ready. So soles of the feet together. Spin that left foot back behind you so it's outside of the left hip. You might walk the right foot in closer to the left knee. And then you might just start to walk your hands back behind your butt, lift your pelvis up, slide your tailbone forward, put your butt back down. Might choose to hang out there on your forearms. Oh, I like that, Barbara, on the blocks. And you might choose to then go towards your right and maybe lower the spine all the way down. But you're just noticing how you can breathe here. Use the sensation in the belly of that left thigh. So not in the left knee, not in the left hip, but really across the meaty portion in the middle of that left thigh. And you've got about 3 breath cycles here. And again, same questions as before. How do you find more stability? How do you find more ease? And it's very interesting. Sometimes the things that we think will help aren't the things that will help. And sometimes the things that we don't think will help are the things that help. Life is really this fun little choose your own adventure type of thing. And as you're ready, you'll gently start to come out of this. So those of you that are on your back will probably need to roll to the right side in order to come out. Yep. And then those that are on your forearms will just need to push up. And as best as you can, let's send the right foot forward just a little bit. And then let's untuck the left leg, bringing both legs in front of you back to Dandasana. You might shift forward and stretch out through a Paschimottanasana. You might just sit tall in Dandasana, but you're paying attention to what feels good to you. And then as we're ready, you'll sit tall once again, and you're going to make your way onto your backs. Now at this point, I do encourage you to cover your bodies up because we are going to the floor. So if you're cold, socks would be a great time to put on here. Sweater would be another great thing to put on here. Having blankets and blocks somewhere easily accessible also would be a great thing to do here. And then you'll make your way onto your backs. Okay. And so the first thing that we'll do when we find ourselves onto our back is before we cover ourselves up, let's go ahead and bend both of our knees and plant our feet firmly on the floor. Then draw your knees into your chest. Bring your hands to the inside edges of your thighs. Grab the outside edges of your feet. Press the soles of your feet towards each other. Keep your bum really super heavy and see if you can draw your heels towards your stomach as you widen across the inner thighs and feel how that feels. So you're in a Baddha Konasana, but now the head can be rooted, the shoulders can be rooted, the pelvis can be rooted, and we're just really targeting the inner thighs. And if this feels interesting to you, drawing the heels towards you, keeping the butt down, you might stay here. You might start to open the knees out to the right and to the left and send the heels up towards the sky. So knees down outside your armpits and the feet maybe up towards the sky. And you might choose to stay there in this half or rather full happy baby shape. You might choose to straighten your legs long, but you're paying attention to what feels good for your inner thighs while still keeping the spine pretty intact with the floor. Great. And you've got about 3 more breath cycles here. So if you want to try a different shape, by all means, go ahead and do that. Awesome. And then we'll gently make our way back towards that Apanasana wind relieving pose, so knees into chest. If you need to rock a little right to left, you do that. And when you feel complete, when you feel balanced, you'll bring one foot to the floor and then the other. From here, let's walk the feet outside of the hips, let the knees knock in towards each other, and then wrap your arms around your torso to give yourself a hug. And we've got 3 breath cycles with whichever arm is on top. And the only thing I want you to do is just to notice what you notice. What does the weight of the arms feel like? Can you let the elbows rest into each other? Can you let the elbows rest into the chest? Can you let the knees knock into each other? Can you let the feet soften into the floor? And on your next in-breath, you'll notice which arm is on top. And then exhale, let the arms be heavier. And then you'll inhale and open the arms out, and exhale, switch whichever arm is on top. Now you've got 3 breath cycles on this side as well. And I want you to use these 3 breaths to check in, to see if there's anything else that your body is asking for in this moment. Anything that will help you feel like you're better able to unwind in Shavasana. And once you feel like you have that, you'll go ahead and take that final shape or those final shapes before we set ourselves up for Shavasana or Supta Baddha Konasana. And you're really just listening, you're tapping in, you're tuning in. One of the tricks about multitasking is I think that sometimes it can make us feel guilty for not doing something else, you know. But how do we allow ourselves to notice that whatever is happening is what's supposed to be happening? Susan Cain talks about this idea that a lot of times we think that the things that sometimes cause us grief or anxiety or pain are taking us off of our path, but she argues instead that those things are the path. You know, they're part of the path just as much as the good things, just as much as the things that are Instagram worthy or, you know, feel like we can brag about. So whatever happens to be true for you, can we remind ourselves that everything is part of the path? And those of you that are doing something asymmetrical, you might want to switch to the other side. Those of you that are making your way to your final resting pose, let's start to make our way there now. Great. And as you make your way to your final resting pose, I do encourage you to take the first few breaths to get as comfortable as you can. So if that means fidgeting around, that means, you know, trying something and then maybe readjusting it because it doesn't feel quite right, that is okay. And you can choose once you get to your final resting pose to have your arms wherever you would like. However, you might choose to put your hands on your belly because we're going to focus on breathing into our belly today. And if you can do that just visual or mentally without having weight there, that's fine. Okay. And so let's just take a big breath in through the nose and an audible exhale out of the mouth. You'll just do 2 more like that. Big breath in. Big breath out. Last one. Let the breath now just become more involuntary, a little bit softer, a little bit quieter. And I'd like you to bring your awareness to your abdomen, to your navel center. And just as the body breathes in, notice what happens to the belly. And as the body breathes out, notice what happens to the belly. And so you'll spend the next few moments just watching the body breathe in, watching the movement of the abdomen as the body breathes in. And you'll watch the body breathe out, watching the movement in the abdomen as the body breathes out. And the ask in this moment is to just simply watch the breath in the abdomen as your body breathes in and as your body breathes out. You might find that as you just really rest your attention on the abdomen, one of two things could happen. One, you might find that you become more and more engaged in a deeper sense of quietude, stillness. You might also find that you have the opposite reaction. So no matter what you experience, as long as you're just paying attention to the body breathing in and the body breathing out, and noticing how that impacts the movement in the navel center, and all is good, all is well. So as you continue to breathe here on your own, I'll keep awareness of the time, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Return your awareness to your breath. As you come back to your breath, just take a moment to check in. If there's any part of you that longs to linger in this shape, by all means, just hang out here until you are ready to move on with your day. And as you are, you'll start to invite small movement into your physical form in whatever way feels good to you. Those that are in stillness, please stay as long as you'd like. Those that are in movement, start to make your way to one of your sides, and you'll just take a few breaths there on whichever side you've rolled to. Those that are on your side, you'll start to roll your chest more towards the floor, press into your top hand, and start to bring your spine up to vertical. When you are vertical, I do encourage you to elevate your pelvis on a block or a blanket. And then the first task for you to do once you are vertical is maybe perhaps either close the gaze down to the floor or close the gaze completely. And then we'll do the same thing that we did multiple times through our practice. So the first thing I want you to do is find more stability in this shape. So for you, how might you adjust the spine so that the spine is really straight? Shoulders are over your hips, your ears are over your shoulders. And once you feel like you've found stability, what small movements might you need to find more ease so that the heart can still come through the gates of the arms, the shoulders can slide down the back. You feel almost like a lift through the inner ear, through the top of your ears, like little elfish ears. Feeling the mouth, the spaciousness in the mouth, the heaviness of the tongue, the heaviness of the jaw. And for today in our practice, there isn't really anything that you need to do. I just encourage you to be present. And sometimes it helps to just really tap into the feelings of the body, the sensations of the body. Noticing again that simple question of where can I find more stability in this shape? Where can I find more ease? Our practice, whether it's active or seated like this shape, really is the training ground for how we can approach all aspects of life. In every relationship, in every situation, there's always the opportunity to find more stability, more groundedness, more sense of confidence. And there's also always the ability to find more ease, whether it's graciousness, kindness, forgiveness, creativity, or expansion. And so as you're here for the next few moments on your own, you're just allowing yourself to be present. Again, asking, how do I find more stability in order to strength, courage, compassion? And how do I find more ease, sense of lightness and lift? Begin to deepen your breath. Noticing what impact that has on both stability as well as ease. We'll complete our practice by just drawing our hands to heart center Anjali Mudra. Press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of the thumbs into your sternum and lift your heart towards your hands. Soften your chin down towards your fingertips and gently exhale all the breath from the mouth. Take a big breath in and a big breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. To that light, to that breath, and to that presence, we bow. Namaste.